The name of the show is The Way to Go. My name is Alan Bendich. I'm going to be your host. Tonight's guest is Mr. Max Bendich, my dad. Hi, Dad.
How are you, my loving son?
Good. How are you?
Try and get that.
I can't get my hand away. So we have a lot in common, like our last names and a whole bunch of family. And we were talking, like I was your last child, right?
Yes.
And now, I had two kids, Kara and Aaron.
That's right.
Or Aaron and Kara, if we're going to do it in the right order. And Aaron went to school, started school 3 years ago, and he goes to Vassar,
Yes.
right? And now Kara is going to be going to Wesleyan next year.
Right.
And I think I'm finding myself in the same predicament that every parent eventually finds themselves, or most parents. I mean, some parents don't because kids stay at home, the empty nest, right? And it's amazing how different people respond to that situation differently. I mean, do you remember? I mean, you probably don't remember, but you had 3 kids, right? And then one by one they left.
That's right.
And it's a natural thing, right? Do you have any idea how you responded to it, or? Yes.
Alan, I think about that.
Right.
First of all, when Miriam, I told you, when Miriam came in.
Miriam's your daughter, right?
Miriam is my daughter.
Right.
And we were sitting on a Sunday, Mom and I, Dorothy and I, and we were talking.
Dorothy's your wife, right?
And Miriam says, my friend is bringing in a fellow also for me. And eventually it's a knock on the door, Alan, and we're waiting, looking. And we open up the door, and who comes in?
Sam.
Tarzan. No.
Oh, a different guy?
Tarzan.
Right.
And then who comes in? This skinny little fellow.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
And Mom looks at me, Mac, we're losing our daughter. Oh, Max, Alan, when she said that, it never even would have occurred to me. That was the first time.
And that's when first time Sam?
And then we found out about Sam. And Sam, he was a yeshiva bucher that the parents, they didn't want him to be.
Right.
And
he was from
Israel.
Right. No, but what happened initially was that he and his family escaped Germany. And they were the last in their line that survived, and they moved to Israel.
Yes.
And he was the last male in his line. So basically they sent him to the United States so he wouldn't.
He and his father went to the Allen, that's right. To 116th Street and Riverside Drive. Right. There's a yeshiva there.
Right.
They put him in a yeshiva and left him there.
Right.
But by that time, he was growing up, and he had a job in Atlantic City.
Right, as a waiter.
As a waiter.
Right.
And again, he was doing things, and he came over to our house.
Right.
They didn't stay in the house long. They left even.
And now he's a grandfather of 5 grandchildren, and you're a great-grandfather of 5 great-grandchildren. Yeah, and but the funny thing about her situation is, let's say, but that was the first person.
Yes.
Then David.
Yes.
David moved downstairs, and then because you had a 2-family house,
Mm-hmm.
and he moved downstairs when he was pre-med at City College.
Yes.
And then he got into medical school. And so he left. And
then
it was the last one.
And you know where he went to? Up near Buffalo.
Right. He went to Buffalo.
Buffalo.
He went to the University of Buffalo Medical
Yes.
School. But basically, so he was out. He never came back.
That's right.
And then you were left with me. And then I left. So I left, and by that time, I was the 3rd kid. You were living in Co-op City at the time. I mean, what was it like when I left? If you can remember. I mean, it was just you and Mom.
I know. And we had a 6.5-room apartment.
In Co-op City.
Why? When we made application.
Right.
And they said to us, you have 2 sons?
Yes.
But I said, they're not living with us. You have 2, they need a room for themselves.
Right.
So we had to take a 6.5-room apartment.
Right.
We never used 3 rooms, and this is in Co-op City.
Yes.
And we got them for practically nothing.
I know, it was because you had a house. Because of taxes and all the stuff, you got it cheap. And it was good. I mean, but I left, so you're in this big house. You're still doing the laundry. You still had your business. But I mean, did it feel any emptier or not? Or I mean,
No, it, the word emptier, it never occurred to us.
right,
Because you were always with us, the three of you. I mean,
right.
in our mind.
But this was before cell phones. I mean, I remember when I was in school, I would probably call you up once a week.
All right.
You know, in those days, I mean, now with cell phones, you're in constant contact with your parents, with your, you know, whatever, you know, but, or whatever. I mean, there was no constant contact. I mean, when you made a long distance call, it cost money. You know? It was something that had an expense attached to it. Whereas now you get unlimited calls. You could call anybody because it's part of your package. So,
See, meaning something else. It's true, I'm 100, who knows how long I'll wait, but we lived at the right time and the right places and everything else. Because whatever we did,
right.
Mom and I, and I'm not even talking about the children, whatever we did, fell down for the children, was the right thing to do.
right. No,
How did we ever figure it? I don't know. Maybe we never did figure it out.
But, you know, my thought about the show was going to be about empty nesters because right now, since my son is in college already and my daughter's going to college in 2 weeks, there's a lot of people who had kids in the same grade as my kids who have gone through the same steps, who are going to, I mean, there's going to be a bunch of people. Every year there's a bunch of people everywhere that find themselves with
I'm
empty.
looking to the few places to go.
And what, you know, like all of a sudden you got to look, oh, there's my wife now, you know, because before your wife or your husband or whatever, these people, the concentration is on the kids. And it's still on the kids, but it's not a day-to-day activity. You know, you don't have to take care of them. They're taking care of themselves. And then you have to start redefining, you know, it becomes a point, I think, for empty nesters that they have to redefine who they are in terms of their activities. Because if you're not doing everything for the kids in the moment, you still have time that you got to fill.
And Alan, we're lucky. They must have found out, like you said, they have to find out what they are, and they found out what they were. And
well, that's true.
Whatever
But I'm not talking about the kids. Let them, I mean, that's their life. I'm talking about, okay, they're gone. What are you going to do? That's the thing. Because, you know, let's say I was fortunate, I mean, to have, you know, my wife was able to spend most of her time not working so she could concentrate on the kids. And there's a return on that because the kids turned out great and blah, blah, blah. You know, but now because she focused a lot on the kids, now that the kids are gone, what is she going to do, you know?
She finds out, believe it or not, she finds out what to do.
Right.
And not only wives find out.
Or husbands, it depends.
No, the husbands are usually working.
No, but nowadays it could be the other way around.
Well, I don't know. I really don't know how the operation. So
right, and again, whenever you start getting into wives and husbands or genders or whatever, there's always, I mean, a lot of time nowadays it's very difficult to have one person not working and the other person working. It's just too expensive.
That's what I can't understand. Why things are so expensive, especially going to college.
Right. Well, college.
No, I'm talking
college
about.
Is very expensive.
Alan.
Especially, like you can imagine, Wesleyan. It's $65,000 a
Alan,
year. A year.
I look at you and I know it's hitting, but it doesn't mean anything.
Right. It doesn't because I mean, it's money that I wouldn't spend any. I mean, it's just like it's gone. It doesn't affect my day-to-day activities. I mean, I still bring my own lunch to work. You know, whatever. I did that before I spent this money or after. You know.
It's not that you don't have to explain. I see you.
Right.
I know it's a success. Excuse me. It's a successful way you are doing things.
Right. And it's fortunate because the other thing is that we're not material people, Wendy and I, you know, and you know, I look at my buddies. There's a poker game that I have every now and then with these guys from Larchmont, and they're all very successful. They're all, and it's it's just a bunch of guys getting together once every 3 or 4 months, it seems, but we've been doing it for years, and one guy asked me, I told him I have one son in Vassar, I have another daughter going to to Wesleyan, and basically we're not getting any financial aid. And I tell them how much it costs for each one of them. They're very high, expensive schools. And the idea that I could do it basically working for not-for-profits. I mean, we were able to, we don't spend our money frivolously. That's the whole thing.
And I think on account of the colleges, many people are
Right.
in your place. Well, you're saying that certain monies have to be spent.
But the thing is, the other thing about the thing is, though, that bad behavior is rewarded by the schools. What am I saying? That no matter how much you make, if you spend all your money, if a kid gets into a college, it becomes, the getting into the college is separate from the financial aid. So if a person gets into college and their parents, no matter how much they made, if they spent more than they made, they will get that financial aid because that's the basis of it. Where there's a need, they'll get it. But the thing is, the need could be that this person's driving a Maserati and he spent all his money for the Maserati. So they look at how much money you have as well as how much money you make. So even if you're making a lot of money, if you're spending it frivolously and you're not saving, you can get financial aid. That's how the system works. And if you make less money but you save it, then you don't get the financial aid. So in the end, the theory is that, or at least I've heard this from other people, that bad behavior in terms of spending gets rewarded by financial aid.
And do they find that out?
No, they don't, I mean,
or do they struggle before?
it's a balance sheet. In other words, you present your taxes and you present what assets you have. That's part of what you present to to the colleges every year if you're going to go for financial aid. And if your balance sheet, if your personal balance sheet has more liabilities than assets, then they'll give you financial aid.
But is it true? I think I read it somewhere that most of these children have a balance after they graduate.
Oh, yeah, they have loans. But the other thing that's interesting, you go to these schools, they say that like 80 or 90% of these kids, 80%, whatever it is, they're all getting financial aid. And it's fascinating. You talk, and speaking to the parents, the professors, these are people who are professional parents. And yet, and their kids are getting like, the tuition's $60,000 and they're getting $30,000 worth of financial aid, And I just find it fascinating that, Wendy and I, we use coupons all the time. Wendy and I, we pinch our pennies with everything except for education. Well, and that's it.
And I hope there's a possibility that other parents are doing the same thing.
Right, but the guys who I played poker with, that was one of the guys said I should write a book because he couldn't figure out how could you do it.
That's right.
Where does the money? I mean, and the thing is, you invest, or whatever, you save. You have to. You don't put it in the bank. You save your money. You don't spend it. You don't buy the $5 cup of coffee, or whatever. You don't. And it's those little things that are meaningful.
So, even though we are older, very older,
right.
We must have lived, and there was a war, and then another war. We must have lived in good times to do what we have done for us to reach where we are now and for our children to reach what they are.
So you asked a question, the time go quickly. You asked a question earlier before we started the show. Did time go quickly? I would say this. It doesn't seem like it's going quickly, but when I turn around and say, okay, am I okay? Am I going to be okay for retirement?
Mm-hmm.
If you would ask me that 10 years ago, I would have said maybe no. If you asked me 10 years later, which is now, I'd say I think I'm going to be okay. So even though that 10 years might have gone like that, I can't. It still seems like it went a little bit slower than that. My perspective of how the future my perspective now about what the future looks, and maybe because my future is less and less as you get older, but I think it's going to be okay.
See?
And the one thing, like when I look at my kids and your grandchildren, and you're worried about it, you're worried about their future.
Naturally, well, yeah. Again, it's a different life. Maybe I shouldn't worry.
Right.
Why? Again, I didn't worry when it was happening to us.
Right.
In a smaller way, it was happening to us. This, how are we going to do this? And you leaving at that time.
Right. And especially when I went to Hollywood, when you're talking about leaving.
And
what's going to happen to Alan? Right?
Oh, definitely.
Right.
But besides that, we had these other two kids.
Right.
And
they were doing okay.
All right.
But but you never know. Right?
That's it, Alan.
I mean, people were smoking cigarettes. You never know what's going to happen in the future. People take chances without realizing what the consequences will be later. And older people see them doing it, and younger people never listen to older people. And that's the bottom line.
Talking about, you said about cigarettes. The cigarette companies and were murderers.
Absolutely.
Wait a minute.
No question.
Wait. Yet, everyone in the 20s and 30s smoked.
That's it.
Right? And the movies.
Right.
And they say that
the subliminal, you watch it on TV, you want to be just like them.
Yeah.
Or in a movies.
A movie.
Right.
A few things, and something else, everyone wore hats.
Right.
Alan, if you think, the Hatters Union was a strong one.
And guess what? Now that you're working on all these television shows, you're part of the problem because you're the one who's setting. You're giving them the. They're watching us, and they're gonna wear hats like yours.
Look, why not? We are the messenger. Don't kill the messenger.
Yeah.
We're the messenger. Life is good.
Yeah, life is good, but it becomes different when the kids leave. And actually, it's getting better. The thing is, sometimes when kids are there, kids could be troublemakers too. I know they'll play one parent after another. You know why I know this? Because I used to do that with you and Mom. I would definitely try to distract things in my life by having you guys go after each other. And believe me, it worked with Mom all the time. So, and I remember it.
Really?
Yes.
I don't remember. I think we had a quiet.
Well, Dad. I know you have a rosy outlook, and it's good. Keep that. But the thing is, now that it's funny, now that Kara's almost out the door, Wendy and I are like realizing that we can go on vacation together. We can go out to eat. We've been going out to eat much more together. We're beginning to try to reacquaint ourselves with each other because all our life up until this point, except in the beginning, was worrying about the kids, or at least focused on the kids and work. And now all of a sudden, as I turned 60 this year, it's like all of a sudden we realized that there's going to be a point in time where it's just going to be me and her.
With that in mind, I call myself an optimist.
All right.
What do you call yourself?
What do I call myself?
Now think about it.
Well, actually, I think I'm much more optimistic than I used to be.
Wonderful, good. I'm happy.
Right.
Why? Because at certain times you can't be optimistic.
Right. No, but I know. No, but I think why I'm optimistic? Because when I speak to my kids, I realize how good they are, and that means that we did something really good. They're good on their own, but the idea that their outlook is optimistic, that they have the hope.
There it is.
So unless it skips a generation, we've all done something good. You know what I mean? So,
Alan, you're on the ball. Why? Because you are after us.
Right.
We all did something.
And look at Aaron, and look at Kara. Kara's still young, though. She has, but she's optimistic. She knows what she has to do. But Aaron has good thoughts about the world, and he's
definitely.
Yeah.
I know that kid.
Right.
He's not a kid anymore,
right.
And the life he is leading, the reading that he's doing, the music that he's doing.
The music that he shares with his radio shows, and he has the Yiddish show.
Now, this is something, when I tell that to, and I discuss it, Alan,
I believe
up in Kitay House.
Right. Where you live.
Where I live.
Right.
These people are Jewish, are Yiddish.
Right.
But most of them do not understand Yiddish.
Right.
But still, I talk Yiddish to these people.
We saw some people yesterday when we were shooting. There was a lady that wouldn't stop talking because we wanted quiet on the set. She was talking Yiddish to someone. There was two people on set. And I was thinking, God, I wish they would shut up because we have to do this scene.
But Alan, by the way, I do it automatically.
Right.
Talking Yiddish, it's for me.
Yes.
Is one of the most important things.
And
the language is still being spoken.
And Aaron.
And Alan, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Alan has
Aaron.
Alan and Aaron.
Right.
Aaron has everything that most of the things that I have given him.
Right.
And when he said at the beginning, quite some time ago, I think I'm going to ask the instructor if he would like to have a Yiddish class.
Right.
He had one.
Right. He took Yiddish.
Right. One person was in the class.
Right. But the good thing, the thing that's more, I think, powerful, it's good that he took the class, but he has a radio show that only does Yiddish music once a week for a half hour, and he's also the radio manager, the station manager. But it's, I mean, he has a commitment to,
Now, Alan, that I didn't know. Wait, look what
he's
you
told
just,
you that so many times.
All
It's
right,
on every.
I mean,
Okay.
Wait, because now I want to talk
Right.
about it. Years ago, like you said, he has a Yiddish though. Years ago, on WEVD,
Right.
on Sundays, they spoke only Yiddish.
Right.
Songs and everything else.
Right.
So you're saying,
Aaron, every Tuesday night for the last year
see, now you're telling me.
at 9:30, he has a show on the Poughkeepsie station that he's the station manager. He also has another show after that, but for a half hour he plays Molly Pecan.
Now
Unbelievable stuff.
That means there's out there, what do you call it?
An audience.
There's an audience out there
Right.
that wants to hear it.
Well, one thing,
Thank
I'm always
you.
I'm always listening, and I text him while he's on the air to let him know that I'm listening, and he gives the shout out to his dad. But he has a bunch of people, but it's also the only radio station they get in Poughkeepsie. So if you're going to listen to that Poughkeepsie radio station,
No.
local, it's
But the difference, the whole thing, the difference
yes,
is at that time we were children of immigrants.
right.
Now there's no such
Now,
thing.
but people still, and the thing is, the music is so lively and sad at the same time, and he throws in Tumbala, like all the songs that he was raised with, or I was raised with, that I turned him on to, like, and all the songs, and I'm listening, and Bulbous and all this stuff, all the music that I was raised with, and he knows I'm listening, and he always plays at least 2 or 3 songs that I used to hear in the house when I was growing up.
So, Alan, thank you. I didn't know it. Mom, Mom, we both have succeeded.
Oh no, that's it. I can't believe. I mean, and the one thing he even says when he has his radio show on Tuesday at 9:30 on the Poughkeepsie station, he's saying he's probably the only person maybe in the world at that who's playing Yiddish music on the radio right now.
Now that, and it's a shame.
Right.
Why? Because at that other time,
Yeah.
all the Jew, everyone who was a Jew, why? They weren't young. They were the parents.
Right.
And they listened to Sunday, the whole Sunday afternoon, up to the afternoon.
Right.
It was a nice program. They talked and I'm a success.
No, and I'll tell you, you should hear all the show tunes, and he comes up with these other things, and because he took Yiddish at Vassar, he actually understands the music that he's listening to, and the songs. But and he always talks from a point of the other thing about Aaron. Maybe I shouldn't be talking so much about him because there's Kara. But when he talks, he usually knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
In other words, he does not claim a fact if he's not sure of it. And sometimes I say things that I'm pretty sure of. He never says that. When he talks to me, he's always talking from a position of knowledge.
Now, I don't know the word. His input, what do you call the response? Does he ever get response, written response?
Oh no, well, he gets people calling up the station,
calling up the
station, and he has people texting him. But he has a small group of friends that he knows are listening. There's probably about 10 people he knows are listening. But the other thing, I'll tell you something else that happened just 2 weeks ago. I was eating dinner with Wendy, my wife Wendy, at IHOP on Boston Road, right?
Yeah.
Senior night, 50% off. I love being a senior because you get all the discounts. So we're having dinner, and this guy passes by, right, the table, and he's looking at me, and he looks like he has gray hair, this, and he's looking at me like this, and I'm getting a little nervous because he's giving me like I know who you are, and then he comes back. He said, "Are you an actor?" He said, "I think I saw you on something like a soap opera or something like this." I said, "Are you talking about Scriptless?" He said, "Yeah, I love the show." And Wendy was sitting there, and Wendy, you know, she's not that much of a fan of the show, but it was like, this guy actually recognized, this guy's watching. So the way I look at it is that if this guy's watching Scriptless, and he noticed me, there must be other people. I mean, it's not just this person's the only person. And so at least I know that people watch it on the internet, because I know the people that are watching it on the internet. But this guy watched it locally. So it makes me feel, it's interesting to me that there is, if one person said it, he represents a certain number of people that are watching it, that aren't coming up to me and saying, you look familiar.
Yeah.
So that was, I don't know, for some reason that made me feel not so much like, wow, I'm recognizable. It made me feel a little uncomfortable because I didn't know why this guy was looking at me. But at the same time, it made me feel like, you know, it's content that people are actually watching, you know? Interesting, right, Pop?
Alan, I never realized it, Alan. And again, one of these days, some guy will come over to me looking at those 30 or 40, the way to go. And
50.
50. And
That'd be nice.
the people.
Oh, you know, the other thing is, we have people who are, like, there's one of Kara's best friends, Lindsay.
Yes.
She's going to Wesleyan also. Her mother watches every episode, especially of The Way to Go, but primarily your shows, and she loves you. And there are people who I know watch your show all the time, and it's interesting, you know.
Yeah, only for one reason. I mean, it's different.
Right.
98-year-old guy.
Right. Oh, and in those days, right.
In those days,
Yeah.
98. Why is he doing this?
I don't know.
He's going to take your rest.
No, but I think the idea that first of all, you're interested in doing this thing. You know,
That's right.
you got to schlep here from the Bronx. I pick you up. I mean, it's an effort to do it. And usually, I'm grumpy in the beginning because I'm tired. You know, whatever. I'm coming in. I have some sort of complaint. You know, and but when we get here, it always turns out to be something that's a pleasurable experience. We have a whole crew of people, wonderful people who are always here.
That's right.
They're dedicated to the show. It's not just us. We're the monkeys dancing around on the stage.
No.
But you got all the people, the crew, the director, and these are young people who are learning their craft, having a good time.
When I see Alan,
Right.
not you, when I see these people over here, I love them. I love them. They're young. They're doing something that they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these guys on the streets hanging out, doing nothing, you know, or just like wasting their life, wasting their time. These kids are, you know, these are young people, are looking to create something, to learn something new, you know, make their lives better, and it really is an opportunity for the kids, you know.
It must have happened in my time also, where certain people were doing certain things and not getting paid for it, but eventually they were.
You know, like apprentices almost. And that's what this is. I think this is very much an apprenticeship kind of situation. And whatever we get out of it, which is an unbelievable amount of, you know, we get everything. We get the whole show. We get everything. We'd be just two people talking on the street instead of us two talking together and having it for our great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren to see. But these kids are getting so much out of it. I mean, a future. It's just, you know, and, you know, the future is so important. But unfortunately, sometimes the future is now. and then you wind up only having one thing left to say. And it's the most depressing thing to say. It's a wrap. Good night, folks.